Hello Rebels, welcome back. Grievous being born on Kali was known as Kaimain Hai Shalal. He delighted in fighting and being the strongest Kalish on the battlefield. He had always known that he was different. No one he came across could match his speed or strength. He had a sixth sense about combat and it helped him to stay alive. He could even manipulate inanimate objects to aid him in battle. All of his exploits, battle experience, and thirst for blood gave him the moniker of Grievous. Grievous knew from a young age that he was special, but he didn't know what his power was or how to control it. Through his experience in battle, he eventually came to understand a little more about his power. When his life was most in danger is when he could control this power more than in the past. With this new power aiding him in battle, he became feared in the wild space territories. A new exploit presented itself to Grievous and his people of Kali when they waged a war on the Yamri. Grievous led his planet and their army into battle. He had always known that his strength and combat experience was too much for the people they waged war against. This battle was no different. That was until Grievous came across the Jedi. He had heard stories over the years about this people that the Republic sent to defend the weak. He had come to realize after fighting them in battle, and from the stories that he had the same power they did. He couldn't wait to put his strength to the ultimate test fighting the Jedi. Grievous engaged with the Jedi in battle to test his abilities and prove to the galaxy that he was to be feared. The Jedi were pushing Grievous to his limits. He fought with all that he had, but it proved to not be enough as he greatly underestimated the Jedi and their strength. This mistake would cost him to nearly lose his life. As a result of the battle, Grievous lost his arms and was left for dead. As he lay there dying, he began to think of what he could do to get his revenge on the Jedi and the Republic that did this to him. He vowed that if he were to make it out of this situation, he would do all that he could to get stronger and get the revenge that he desired. A deep-seated anger and hatred began to grow within his soul. Suddenly, an old man showed up to where he was lying. This man conveyed to Grievous that he and his master had been watching him for some time, and they were very interested in his abilities and the name he has made for himself. He introduced himself as Count Dooku. Grievous had heard of this man. He had heard how he was one of the best known duelists within the Jedi organization. He let Dooku know that he despised the Jedi and would rather die than receive help from the likes of him. Dooku let him know that he was mistaken. He was a Jedi and the man that he knows of, but his affiliation with the Jedi was no longer intact. He has seen how the Jedi have lost their way and need to be corrected. Dooku began to tell Grievous that he and his master hoped to fix the galaxy and correct the wrongs that have been committed by the Jedi. He could help Grievous and train him to use his power and help him to get the strength he needs to achieve what he wants most: revenge. Grievous wanted revenge for what the Jedi had done to him and his people. For the moment, his goals and the Count's seemed to have aligned. He agreed to go with Dooku and receive the training he needs to get the necessary strength to fight and beat the Jedi. Dooku and Grievous made their way to Sereno, where Grievous would receive the life-changing and life-saving operation that would transform his Kalish body into the cybernetic one and a weapon he would use to kill the Jedi that stood in his way. With the operation now complete, Grievous swore his allegiance to the Separatists and their cause. He also began training under Dooku to hone his skills in the Force and with a saber. During his training, the Separatists focused on preparing for war with the Republic. To prove himself to be ready for what lies ahead, Grievous was sent on missions by Dooku and Sidious. These missions consisted of Grievous gathering intel on the Jedi by any means necessary. Over the next couple years, Grievous would prove to be a force to be reckoned with, killing all the Jedi that stood in his way. His name began to be feared once again, and this time it was known to the Jedi as well. The training he had received from Dooku proved to be a great asset, as no one could match Grievous in battle. On one mission, Grievous was ordered to capture the Chancellor and hold him hostage. Grievous orchestrated the daring attack on Coruscant, resulting in him taking Chancellor Palpatine aboard his ship, the Invisible Hand. He was ready to face the Jedi and show the Chancellor just how strong the Separatists are. Grievous had heard about Skywalker and Kenobi when the war first broke out. Over the years, he had ran into them on occasion, and they proved themselves to be worthy opponents and worthy to die at his hand. He had hoped that the Republic would send them to rescue the Chancellor. His suspicion was proved to be correct when in fact they did show up to rescue Palpatine. The plan was simple. They would kidnap the Chancellor, and together Dooku and Grievous would dispose of the Jedi that came for Palpatine. They knew that the Republic would show up in force to get Palpatine back, but they didn't expect the outcome. to be with Grievous fleeing to Utapau. After all, the fight was going well till he got separated from Dooku. They were wiping the floor with Kenobi and Skywalker. Grievous had Kenobi in midair and was choking him while Dooku was pressing the attack on Anakin. The end was in sight as they were about to kill two of the most troublesome Jedi to the Separatist movement, when suddenly an explosion in the hull caused Grievous to get sucked out of the ship, losing his grip on Kenobi, leaving him there with Dooku. Grievous made it to the bridge only to watch as Anakin slayed his master right in front of Palpatine. He saw Palpatine talking to Anakin, convincing him to kill Dooku. He watched as Anakin and Kenobi made their way to the bridge. He knew that his time was up, and if he wanted to fight them again, he had to flee. Grievous fled to the Utapau system to regroup and plan his next move. It would be different now that Dooku was gone. He would have to take control of the army and responsibility of the Separatists. They would have to take their time and attack strategically in order to have a future where there were no Jedi and the Separatists win the war. Grievous didn't have to wait long for Kenobi to show up again. Kenobi showed up on Utapau and confronted Grievous, thanks to the intel given him by the Chancellor. The fight between Kenobi and Grievous will go very similarly to how we know it in the movie. Kenobi would wear Grievous down slowly, chopping away at his body till they both end up on the flight platform with Kenobi dangling off the edge. Only here I believe the biggest difference would come into play. With Kenobi dangling off the side of the platform, Grievous knew that this was his opportunity to get rid of Kenobi. Before Kenobi could make a move, Grievous grabbed him, lifted him up in the air, and threw him over the side. After watching Kenobi fall to his death, Grievous returned to what was left of his army, expecting them to be fighting the clone army. When he got back, he found that the clones were now on his side. Grievous ordered that they search down below for Kenobi's body, while he go meet with Darth Sidious about their next steps. Grievous had not met Sidious face to face and was eager to meet his new master and receive more instruction. At the request of Sidious, Grievous traveled to Mustafar with the other Separatist leaders to meet him there. They landed on Mustafar to find him waiting. Grievous walked off the ship and up to Sidious. He was waiting and eager for next steps, but didn't expect what Sidious had told him. "You were supposed to die," Sidious had said. Grievous couldn't believe what he had heard. How could his master not want him around after he had proven himself time and time again? Grievous let Sidious know that he would regret the day that he chose to turn his back on him. Grievous drew his saber and lunged at Sidious. With seemingly no effort at all, Sidious drew his saber and cut off the last remaining arm that Grievous had. Now defenseless, Grievous knelt there waiting for the end as Sidious raised his saber. In that moment, that's when he could see it. Although scarred and somewhat misshapen, this man was the Chancellor. He understood now that he had been part of a bigger plan. He had been part of this plan from the day that Dooku showed up to save him. He thought that he was working to get rid of his enemy in the galaxy when it turns out that his enemy was right in front of him all along. Palpatine brought his saber down, meeting Grievous at the neck, chopping off his head. Grievous was always meant to be a cog in the machine that was Palpatine's plan. Although being Force-sensitive helped him in battle more, he was always meant to die in the end. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, and would like to see what would happen if Palpatine found Anakin before the Phantom Menace, then check this video out. I hope you all have a great weekend, and may the Force be with you, always.